Water is not everywhere. Decades of hotter, drier weather, accelerated by climate change, has reduced the flow of surface water, while aquifers and reservoirs are overpumped and not replenished. Aging and leaking infrastructure also is aggravating supply as more areas enact voluntary or mandatory water restrictions. Those limits are impacting home builders in the form of more expensive tap fees and constraints on construction. One strategy for improving sustainability is a rating system called HERS H2O. As with the HERS Index for Energy Efficiency, also administered by RESNET, HERS H2O scores a home on a scale from 0 to 150, and the lower the score below 100, the better the water usage efficiency. Program Director Ryan Mears tells us more about this rating program, which has gone through a couple of field tests and rolled out during February 2021 in tandem with the newest version of the Environmental Protection Agency's WaterSense label and certification program.
I mean, water concerns are very real, especially with the drought that's happening in the West. I mean, talking historic drought, potentially the worst in 1,200 years. That's really shining a light on water efficiency, especially there. But I think that the way that HERS H2O can work for builders is that in those locations where there is the potential that they're not going to issue more permits because they can't meet the supply. It not only does it demonstrate that a builder is taking water efficiency seriously, but it also gives them a tool to use with those municipalities that may have these concerns, because the data behind HERS H2O will not only provide the builder with an index score, but it's also going to give them the annual estimated gallons per year that they're going to use, or the estimated gallons per day, or gallons per person per day, which is becoming a more common metric. And that's where builders can say, this home is not likely to exceed more than X number of gallons per year based on what it is. And maybe those municipalities want to set a target for builders and say, we want you to hit this score or this number of gallons. And that H2O can be used for that purpose.
How about like municipalities in regions like the Great Lakes? I mean, we've got a lot of water. There was a slight drop, but we've got a lot of rain recently. But groundwater and basically in regions like that, why would HERS H2O be a thing? I mean, I can understand it in deserts and arid regions, but in places like the Midwest, why should they bother with HERS H2O?
And that's a great question. And it's drought, unfortunately, shines the light on water efficiency. But the fact is that water prices are going up faster than energy prices. A 65% increase in water and sewer costs from 2009 to 2019. So, and a lot of that cost is driven by infrastructure. So, you've got cities in the Northeast, the Midwest, where water is relatively abundant, and it's not really a concern in terms of availability of water. But that doesn't mean that the price of water is going to stay low, because those infrastructure costs are driving up those prices. In fact, a couple of towns in Indiana recently announced that they're going to be increasing their water costs 18% on the residential side, and I think 40% on the commercial side, because they have to pay for infrastructure improvements.
Ryan, HERS H2O is described as a whole house approach for rating water usage efficiency. How so?
Yeah, so HERS H2O takes into account both the indoor and outdoor water usage of a home. On the inside, we're looking at appliance efficiencies for water, any appliances that use water, fixtures, fixture flow rates, toilets. On the outside, we're looking at primarily landscape irrigation, but also whether or not there's a pool or a spa on the property, we take that into consideration. And then the different components of landscape irrigation system, as well as the flow rate of that irrigation system.
Are you getting the sense that consumers are understanding the importance of comparing the water efficiency of one home against another when they're shopping for a house?
I don't know if we're at that point yet, but HERS on the energy side is definitely there. And since water ratings are in their infancy, I think it'll take a little time for consumers to get to that point where they realize there's an index score that where they can, judge one home against another in terms of how it uses water. I think we're going to get to that point. We're not quite there yet. However, on the water sense for homes is definitely better recognized in terms of a brand, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's where brand recognition comes in terms of water efficiency labels for homes.
How about home builders? Are they catching on? I know there was a pilot in 2019. I think a dozen or 15 builders or so were involved in that. What are the plans for rolling out the program further among builders?
Yeah, so we launched officially in September of 2020. And leading up to that period, we did, as you mentioned, had a number of, we started out doing field testing, and then we turned into kind of an informal pilot program where we had builders from different states participating. A lot of them were just doing one or two homes to get a feel for the rating system. But right now we have launched nationally, and we're trying to ramp up both the builders that participate and also the number of raters that we have certified to do HERS H2O ratings.
What was the feedback like for the builders that did do that, kind of like a trial on the rating system? What did they learn, or what did you guys get in terms of feedback?
So initially, the feedback was very good in terms of one of the main purposes of HERS H2O, and one of the goals for implementing it was that it would be used in conjunction with the HERS rating on the energy side. And the initial feedback we got was that it fit very well into a final HERS rating. So when a HERS rater goes on site to do their final energy rating, they can also do the water efficiency rating at the same time. And so the initial feedback we got was that it was from raters and from builders was that it fit in nicely with that and worked quite well. Later on, as we launched the formal pilot at the end of 2020, when we launched, we got some more feedback that there was some difficulty in timing with the final HERS inspection and the HERS H2O rating when it came to evaluating the irrigation system, as that was something that's typically installed at the very end. And so there was some difficulty there, but we did work through that, came up with some better guidelines for it.
Overall, I mean, how much additional time would it take to do a HERS energy rating and a HERS H2O rating?
Yeah, it adds usually about 30 minutes, at most an hour. But once a rater really, nails down the process, about 30 minutes is all it takes in addition to the HERS rating.
Oh, all right. And you mentioned earlier the EPA's Water Sense program, which is basically like a rating program of water fixtures and stuff, and loss and efficiency, water flow. How is HERS H2O a complement for the EPA's Water Sense program?
So HERS H2O is really a compliance path for meeting the Water Sense for a builder to achieve the Water Sense label for homes. And it's a performance-based approach, at least so. And this is specific to version 2 of Water Sense. Version 1 of Water Sense was a very prescriptive option where builders had it prescribed what a builder needed to do in order to achieve the Water Sense label. And if they didn't meet all those requirements, they didn't get the label. So what HERS H2O does is adds a performance component. So builders have a lot more flexibility in how they get water savings for their home. So they have to meet a HERS H2O score of 70 or less. And then they have a few basic requirements for Water Sense, like verifying that there's no leaks, no visible leaks, and the use of Water Sense labeled fixtures is really what it takes to get Water Sense label under version 2.
And Water Sense 2.0, that basically just rolled out recently, like not just a few months ago, I understand.
Yeah, it was just launched nationally in February. So yeah, it's very recent. We did a short pilot with them from September of 2020 through February.
All right, and how are we faring with the supply of raters and providers? Are more of them getting certified, or what's available out there? What kind of resources are there to get more folks certified?
So right now there's a few hundred raters that have been certified. It's under 300 right now. And we have about 19 providers that have been certified as HERS H2O providers. So raters, the good thing about for raters and for rating field inspectors is that we have an online training, which makes it really easy for them. It takes them about 3 hours to get through the training program, and then they're certified to do HERS H2O ratings. So our network of 2,500 plus raters and rating field inspectors are eligible to do HERS H2O ratings. And as things ramp up, especially as there's more builder demand, we'll see more raters getting that certification.